Right, good evening everyone and welcome to this meeting of the Communities and Environment Scrutiny Select Committee. For the benefit of those watching on our YouTube channel, members of the committee are present in the chamber and these members will be voting on proposals this evening. Other members of the council are also in attendance and/or participating via MS Teams and can take part in any discussions, ask questions but cannot vote. Your attention is drawn to agenda item 1, which sets out the guidance on how meetings will be conducted, including the ground rules. Before we start with the formal business, we will confirm attendance of voting members by doing a roll call.
Thank you, Chair. When I call your name, please can you confirm that you are present? Councillor Hudson?
Present.
Councillor Benderson?
Present.
We have received apologies from Councillor Crisp, who is being substituted by Councillor Hood. Thank you. Councillor Dalton?
Present.
We have received apologies from Councillor Dean, Councillor Hoskins.
Present.
Councillor Lark? Sorry, is Councillor Lark in the chamber, please?
I'm substituting for somebody. I'm not quite sure who it is. I'm Mark Rose.
I think you are substituting for Councillor Rose. Right, okay. Councillor McDermott?
Present.
Councillor Palmer?
Present.
Councillor Pilgrim?
Present.
We have received apologies from Councillor Rose, but I can see he's joining us online, and he's been substituted by Councillor Brown.
I'm still here.
Councillor Tatton?
Present.
Councillor Tunstall?
Present.
I confirm we have 11 voting members present. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. We have had obviously apologies for absence from Councillor Rhodes. Are there any other apologies from the floor? Councillor Dean
And Councillor Crisp.
and Councillor Crisp. Okay, fantastic. And then the substitute members, we've got Councillor Brown substituting for Councillor Rhodes and Councillor Hood substituting for Councillor Crisp. Thank you. Item 4 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Is there anyone in the chamber that has a declaration of interest? Okay, moving on to item 5, minutes to confirm as a correct record the notes of the meeting held on the 18th September 2025. Is everyone agreed? Thank you. Item 6, outside bodies update, Snodland Partnership.
Councillor Chapman has prepared a statement which I was going to read out regarding the Snodland Partnership. I also attend the Snodland Partnership meetings as well, so I'm familiar with the work they do. The partnership was established back in 2000 with one clear goal: to bring people together and direct funding where it can have the biggest impact for local residents. It's not just a name or a committee, it's a collaboration between the Town Council, local businesses, housing associations and community groups, all working side by side. Over the years, the partnership has helped fund and deliver projects that strengthen our town, help tackle antisocial behaviour by supporting diversionary activities and projects for young people, improving green spaces and helping those in need. One great example is the new BMX pump track, an £88,000 project right here in Snodland. But it's more than just a track, it's a space where young people can be active, social and proud of their community. The Snodland Partnership played a key role in making that happen, alongside other supporters, including TNBC, Clarion Housing and other local funding partners. The Snodland Partnership has also supported the local boxing club, the gym at the community centre, the Short Mat Bowls Club, the local nursery school, STC Bowls Club and Community Cycle Works. They also pay for the Snodland in Bloom hanging baskets each year. Right now, the partnership is looking to grow by recruiting more local businesses to get involved. Every organisation and individual in Snodland has something valuable to offer, whether that's funding, time or ideas. Together we can continue building a town that's safe, vibrant and full of opportunity. Snodland Partnership proves what can happen when we all work together, and I'm excited to see what we'll achieve next.
Thank you, Jill. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, wonderful. Okay, moving on to item 7, which is the review of fees and charges for 25-26 for the waste, leisure and environmental health. Darren?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, members will be kind of familiar with this report, this annual report that we bring forward on charges. These are proposed fees and charges from the 1st of April next year across the services of waste, leisure and environmental health. I won't go through them individually, but needless to say, I think you'll see that most of them have had increases in line with inflation, roughly around 4%. The other one probably to highlight within the report is at 5.4, which is the proposed new charge for property developers for new bins. Just to highlight at this point, we're only asking members to agree this in principle, should they be minded. And following that, we will be undertaking further work on that in terms of what charge we will look and how this will be implemented, especially liaising with our colleagues in planning. And we will then bring forward a report back to this board on the proposed fees if this is agreed in principle at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, would you like to say anything?
Just to add that for pest control, the cost of the service has gone up now. So we are still proposing to subsidise it for those in receipt of council tax reduction scheme by £66. So the resident would have to pay £60, which keeps us within the budget that we've got. But for all other charges through the rest of the environmental health tasks, the 4% increase has been applied. Thank you.
Thank you. Dalton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In principle, I'm quite supportive of the proposed charges. There are numerous questions that are open, so can I be assured that the questions that could come up will be dealt with? And how do we do that? Do we do it now or via contact emails?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy to take any comments. I think you've already contacted Simon Collard with some queries. So I am aware of those. And yes, all of those queries can be taken into consideration and will be addressed in the report that we bring forward to members in the future in regard to the proposed charge. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Hood.
Thank you very much, Chair. Well, this is my annual opportunity to talk about the garden tax. Inevitably, the charge is going to go up, and we seem to chase Tunbridge Wells a little bit incrementally every year. That's the way it goes. I absolutely agree with the proposal to charge developers for the bins. It doesn't seem to make any sense at all that we subsidise that. So that's a really sensible move that I do support. Yeah, I think it's inevitable, isn't it, that we're just going to continue putting these things up.
Councillor Pilgrim.
Thank you, Chair. In a time when households are grappling with rising living costs, the proposed increase in fees for garden waste collection and bulky refuse feels both unfair and counterproductive. For some families, even a modest hike can turn essential services into unaffordable luxuries. Waste disposal is not optional, it's a public health and environmental necessity. Pricing residents out of responsible waste management risks increased fly tipping, reduced recycling participation, and greater strain on local resources. At a time when recycling rates have stalled, we should be removing the barriers, not building them. If we were serious about promoting sustainability and increasing recycling rates, we must make it easier, not harder, for residents to do the right thing. Raising fees for essential waste services sends the wrong message. Instead of encouraging responsible disposal, it risks pushing residents towards a less sustainable choice. Instead of increasing costs, I believe this council should consider adopting the same pricing structure as Sevenoaks, where bulky refuse collection remains more affordable and accessible to all. Additionally, introducing concessions for those who are financially vulnerable or those with disabilities would ensure that no one is priced out of essential waste services. Thank you.
Councillor Rhodes.
Chairman, thank you. Apologies for not being there. I haven't been well. The green waste debate is every year. Councillor Hood knows jolly well that it's an excellent service. You don't have to load your car up. You don't have to queue up over there. You don't have to drive over there. You don't have to drive back. You don't have to empty your car of all the bags. You don't have to vacuum it. It's an excellent service and we really should promote it more. Thank you very much. That's all I need to say.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you very much. I just wanted, if Councillor Pilgrim's made a proposal, I would be happy to second that. But I've just got to go in line with what he's saying with regard to the garden waste collection, the green bin collection. Can officers? I'm sure that some of the other councils actually they use the same criteria of council tax reduction to enable some residents to get these, to make use of the scheme where they may not do currently, and that might actually help us to get more of this kind of waste collected, because we know very well, we were told only this week that if we can get our recycling rates up to 60%, then the whole of Kent's council tax payers actually save £11 million. So can officers tell me if that is the case, that some of the other boroughs in Kent offer that discount, and can I ask if other members think that that's a good idea, or should it be something we explore, we review it for next year, for when this comes around next year? I think.
At the end of the day, the garden waste is a voluntary. It's a discretionary thing. It's down to you whether you sign up for it or not. So if you can't afford to sign up for it, then you can't sign up for it. You choose not to do that. That may in turn make you have a compost bin and actually use your garden waste for composting. I think it's, as not saying eloquently, but as Councillor Rhodes has said, it is a very good service and a lot of people benefit from that. I went to the tip at the weekend and there was still queuing. So it is what it is. It does save people an awful lot of time and effort to get garden waste, grass cuttings, etc., away from their premises if they don't want to have a compost bin or don't have the facilities for it. Unfortunately, if you were to offer a discount to some people, where do you draw the line? You've equally got where do we find the money to cover the cost of providing that discretionary discount? We haven't got that kind of budget to be able to do that. So, and I didn't take your statement as a proposal, I took it as a statement because you were reading off something that you had pre-written. And unless you can come up with, I suggest we do X, Y, Z, and this is how I suggest we fund it, then unfortunately, I don't think it's viable. Thank you. Councillor Tatton.
Thank you, Chair. I don't suppose any of us like putting the charges up, but just one thought on the garden waste. When we put it up previously, I know it's difficult because people are moving house and dropping off the list for various reasons, but was there any sort of discernible change in subscriptions? And the other question I had, I mean, I support the suggestion that we should charge what's set out under 5.3, isn't it? Or is it? No, 5.4. Just made me think about public litter bins. When we have new developments and we've got a 150 homes will come on stream in a couple of years in East Malling. We've got 250 at 40 acres. What's the position with the provision of public bins and who's bearing that cost? And is that something that we can or do ask developers to contribute to? I'm never quite sure how and when they appear, but that's not something we ever consider in planning or anything. So is that an additional cost that could be passed on to developers? Thank you.
Through you, Chair. In terms of the subscription rates, I mean, we actually did do you're correct, they fluctuate on a weekly and a monthly basis. But we did do a screenshot of them only very recently, and we did it the same time last year, and actually they've increased by over 1,000. So yeah, so I don't think there's any. Yeah, we can't see that the introduction of or the increase in charges last year impacted on subscriptions. They have actually, the trend is in the right direction, and they have gone up. In terms of litter bins, yeah, I mean, that's something that we can look at. We'll be liaising with our planning colleagues over the introduction of the charges for the bins, the refuse bins. So it is something we could have a discussion with them on, just to see whether there's any kind of scope for that as well. That's something we can look at if members are minded for us to look at that. Yeah.
Chair. I did. I was hoping to get a response from the officer about why. I think we're kind of looking at this through different ends of the telescope. My question really is, if we were to offer a reduction to people in receipt of council tax reduction, would we be able to boost the number of people who are actually going to take up a brown garden waste bin, so that we could increase our recycling level, and potentially I've got no idea how many people would be in receipt of council tax reduction that this would apply for. I'm certainly not trying to reduce the income to the council, but that was my inquiry.
Through you, Chair. I mean, I wouldn't be able to estimate how many people would take up that if such a charge was introduced. But what I can say is that I'm unaware of any concessions that are given by other authorities across Kent at the current time. I'm unaware of that. In terms of the recycling rate, I mean, it's something that we are looking at the moment and focusing on. And I think the key target that we're going to be doing in terms of trying to increase that recycling rate is around what's in our black bin. Because we know that there are a lot of recyclables going in that, from a recent audit we did with KCC. We've got our recent food waste promotion that's on at the current time. So again, we want to target taking out food waste from the black into to the individual collections. But that's going to be the target, I think, and that's going to be where we will target looking at increasing recycling rates, is converting those recyclables out of the black bin waste.
Thank you. Councillor Dennison.
There's 2 points. The first point in that you get periods where, take it, the brown bins, the garden waste gets full up quite quickly, and then you get lulls where there might not be so much stuff to put in them. How do you equate for that? Obviously, the business of putting the actual amount up generally is to cover, the costs and that for that. But when you get the lulls of time where inactivity, if you like, how does that equation come into it?
It's like all of these things. It's an annual charge, so we're talking about just over £1 a week for your garden waste. I mean, you could argue when I go on holiday for 2 weeks and I don't use my car and it sits on the drive, but I've paid road tax for 2 weeks, you don't get a rebate for that. So it's just one of those things. I would agree. Obviously, there are fewer. You don't put grass cuttings in because you're not cutting the grass in the middle of December. But there are leaves in the autumn, and there are weeds and whatever in other times of the year, or hedge cuttings or whatever. It's part and parcel.
Yeah, but this is looking at periods where, as you said, there are periods where it's quiet such as you're not
you
heavily
couldn't
grass
police it.
cutting.
You couldn't possibly manage something whereby, that's why it's a fixed rate. It's down to the individual if they want to subscribe to that service or not. And at just over £1 a week, it's very good value for money.
And the second point was probably the community black bins that you get. If you find that those bins fill up, as they do, and they're not emptied, what should we advise our residents to do when that happens and they come to us and say these bins are full in set community areas, such as parks?
You email waste services and tell them that the bin in this position is full. Could someone please get that emptied for me? Yeah.
Right.
Lovely, thank you. So we have the recommendations at 3.1 to 3.3, which is page 20 of the agenda, which proposes a scale of charges for garden waste descriptions, household bulky refuse and fridge freezer collections, mist refuse collections, stray dog redemption fees, the Tunbridge allotments, Tunbridge Cemetery, pest control, food certificates, contaminated land monitoring and private water supplies as detailed in the report, that with effect from the 1st of April 2026, and the principle of charging property developers for recycling and refuse containers at new properties be approved in principle. So I would like to propose that. Councillor Tatton.
I propose an amendment to 3.3 just to deal with one of the issues I raised, to add to the end, and the feasibility of seeking the cost of public litter bins related to new developments be explored.
That's
or
fine.
words to that effect.
Yeah. Sally, is that okay?
And sorry, can we have a seconder for that, please?
Yeah. It's been seconded.
Sorry, could you just repeat who seconded, please?
Councillor Hood.
Thank you.
So with that one amendment, is everyone in favour of accepting? Agreed. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8, which is the air quality monitoring updates and AQMA recommendations. Crispin.
Thank you, Chair. So in line with our statutory duties, we continue to monitor air quality across the borough. And our annual status report, which is a statutory report submitted to DEFRA, has now been praised and approved by them. And based on evidence, we're able to recommend in this report revocation of 4 of the 5 remaining air quality management areas within the borough. Those are at Tunbridge High Street, Larkfield, Aylesford, Green. Just going through, you can see detail at section 5. So just running through very quickly those results. So taking 5.1 at Tunbridge High Street, this site has continued to decrease. Table at figure 1, where you can see levels at the monitoring within that AQMA have recorded well under the action level for nitrogen dioxide in the past 5 years. That in line with statutory guidance from DEFRA, that now qualifies for revocation. So we believe that the details within this AQMA, the results, like reductions over the year, if you like, have been achieved through the shift towards hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles, helped in part by the installation in Tunbridge over the years of electric vehicle charging points, etc. Then the continuous analyzer as well has also been in the works, based in the works. And again, that will remain. It's our intention to leave monitoring in place so we can continue to monitor at known hotspots. But that's Tunbridge High Street. Moving on to section 5.2, the Aylesford AQMA, which is the junction of Hall Road and 20. You can see there was, we did have to move the monitoring point in 2024. That is the standalone results. See the single dot. However, distance attenuation carried out with an approved method from DEFRA has actually shown a lower value at the sensitive receptor, which is the property on the corner of that junction. So again, this AQMA meets the criteria for revocation. Moving on to the Larkfield AQMA at section 5.3. Again, you can see results over the last 5 years have recorded under the action level for nitrogen dioxide. And again, that meets the criteria for revocation. At Borough Green, the results again are under the action level for nitrogen dioxide for the last 5 years. There was a very slight increase in the diffusion tube results, but the continuous monitor within that AQMA has actually shown a decrease. And given that the monitor is therefore accredited and a much more sensitive device, we would advise placing more faith in that result than diffusion tubes. In any event, they're all under the action level, and again, this AQMA meets the criteria for revocation. Just to advise, the Borough Green continuous monitor station does include a monitor for particulates, and there is no current indication that we would need to declare any AQMA for particulates in that location. So those are the 4 AQMAs for revocation. Just to touch on the final AQMA at Wateringbury, the results for that AQMA do come under the threshold. However, they are within 10% of the threshold. So the recommendation from DEFRA is that that AQMA remains in place. On current trends, we would expect that to be in place for probably the next 4 or 5 years. So I think you have some, the proposal is obviously that we continue monitoring within the AQMAs and other areas within the borough. Have some questions.
Thank you. I noticed that you said that Borough Green has a continuous analyzer for nitrogen dioxide. If Borough Green is coming away from being an AQMA, is that possible to put that equipment at the only AQMA that we have, which is the Wateringbury Crossroads?
Yeah, it is something that we have tried in the past. We did have a continuous analyzer within the foyer to the village hall at Wateringbury. That didn't show any exceedance of the action levels at any point during the time it was there, which I think spanned from about 2020 roughly. So whether that is the exceedances we have monitored over the years seem to have come from the Maidstone side of the junction. It's something we also have some sensors that are actually lamppost mounted devices. It is something we could explore to potentially get one of those installed at Watering.
Thank you. Now, I just the supposition that if we've only got one area, then theoretically the equipment to monitor that sort of thing should be in the area that we've got an AQMA with, rather than having it sitting redundant in a cupboard somewhere. That was all. Thank you. Do you have any questions from anyone? Hood.
Yeah, when we spoke about this last year, I think I recall we had reassurance that all of the monitoring equipment was going to be left in place at all of the in all of these AQMAs that are very shortly not to be AQMAs apart from Wateringbury. I thought actually you, Councillor Hudson, your ward got the AQMA when it was the monitor, the continual monitor, when it was transferred out of Tunbridge, when we couldn't find somewhere to house it. So I didn't realise it was no longer in Wateringbury. But I do
broke
agree.
down and it couldn't be repaired.
Oh, I do. Yeah. How much would that? How much would it cost? I agree with you that if you've got one that is exceeding or that is closer to the level, then surely that should have some kind of. But I don't want you to have mine.
Thank you. So there are two continuous monitors monitoring nitrogen dioxide, one in Tunbridge High Street, the other at a cabinet in Borough Green at the Red Line roundabout. The cabinet at the Red Line roundabout also includes the particulate. To answer a question on cost, if it was just the monitor, which for example, in the works, we didn't have to pay for a cabinet, you don't have to pay for electrical hookup. If it was just the monitor, the approximate cost is about 10. If you include on that the cabinet and the electric costs, you're probably looking at.
Do you have any further questions? Right, so the recommendations at 3.1 and 3.2, page 33 of the agenda pack, is to agree to revoke the air quality management areas in Tunbridge High Street, Larkfield, Aylesford, and there's Borough Council, but it should be Borough Green, and the continuation of air quality monitoring across the borough to respond to any specific areas of concern. Is everyone in favour? Agreed. Fantastic. Thank you. Moving on to item 9, the antisocial behaviour enforcement team, an update of work, and it's you, Jill, is it?
Thank you, Chair. The report provides an update on the work of the antisocial behaviour enforcement team that have been employed by the Borough Council to work from May to November. So as well as details about the work, the report will also request funding to continue with the team for the next 2 years. So the team is employed through Kingdom. They work Wednesdays to Sundays with 2 teams of 2 individuals out in the borough during these times. In section 4.2, there are some figures there, which I have got some updates. So the latest figures are, so far they've visited 910 locations, spoken to 972 members of the public, spoken with 316 businesses, engaged with 90 groups of young people. They've identified 75 incidents of fly tipping, which they've passed over to the Waste Services team, identified 31 incidents of graffiti, which again have been reported to Waste Services or to the owner if it's a private property. So feedback so far from parishes and the public generally has been largely positive. They're a visible presence. People find this reassuring. Residents seem to want to talk to them and tell them about various things that are going on. There's obviously some challenges and there's a lot of work behind the scenes just to ensure that it all works smoothly and we get the best outcomes for residents. But due to the fact that they are out there providing a reassurance to the public, it's proposed that the scheme is continued. To allow for consistency and for a more streamlined procurement process, it's proposed that the team is funded over a 2-year period. So this would be again May to October, but for the next 2 years. Finance team are considering suitable sources and funding to ensure the continuation of the scheme. The request at this stage is to endorse in principle the future of the scheme for the next 2 years. This will allow us to go ahead with the procurement process for potential contractors in good time to secure the team for when they need to start. So final endorsement will be subject to council approval of the funding in February 2026 as part of the annual budget setting process. So the proposal is in section 5. Members are requested to consider continuing the ASB team for the next 2 years, subject to council approval of the required funding, and for the officers to begin the procurement process. We will be working with parishes again, so they will be receiving a letter asking if they are happy to contribute, as they did in previous year, and also sending them a survey to get some more detailed feedback. And the recommendations, Chair, are section 3. Thank
you. I think this is an excellent scheme and they've done some amazing work. I know I've had to call upon them recently for an area in my own ward, and residents have felt reassured by their presence. So I really do think that it's very important that we do agree to fund this for the next 2 years. I noticed in paragraph 4.4 that there's lots of feedback and communication with parish councils. Tunbridge, of course, misses out on that at the moment. Hopefully, that won't last for much longer, but I just wondered how Tunbridge does receive the information that the parishes do, and also the funding. If parishes are contributing to the funding, does Tunbridge contribute under special estimates, or are we lucky? Thank you.
So firstly, not all parishes have contributed. This was just some that were happy to contribute for the sort of pilot year that we tried that. And the parishes that contributed, they get a monthly report with more detail about how much engagement has gone on in their area. With regards to Tunbridge, you rightly say there's no parish there, but obviously it's one of our main towns in the borough, so they do the team are tasked to Tunbridge on a regular basis, and we get reports of all their activity that they've done around town. I'm not sure, Des will probably know this more so than me, whether we've gone to Tunbridge Community Forum to provide any updates, but we'd be happy to do that. We'll be going to the next parish partnership.
Councillor Kears.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm not a member of your committee. Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Franny. We do need to start coming to the community forums to give those updates. We do rely very much on the Tunbridge councillors to provide updates, or for them to, like you've done, give us an idea of what's going on so that we can deploy those resources to that. But I do want to just provide a quick update on the team's work. Many of you will remember last year we sat here in whatever committee it was talking about Kings Hill and Snodland after Halloween and the absolute carnage that was caused by about 120 or 30 youths getting off the trains at Westmoreland and walking up with hammers and everything and causing absolute carnage at Kings Hill. And we had similar issues at Snodland. Because we used the intelligence and the feedback from residents on that, and that we've got 4 ASB officers, and so they're not attributing all this to that. Kent Police played a massive part in all of this, but we were able to deploy and work with, for the last 5-6 months, Kent Police with their community safety unit, utilising these officers to key locations in both Kings Hill and Snodland this week on Halloween. Massive successes in Kings Hill. At the train station at Westmoreland, they deterred 50 to 100 kids getting off the train at Westmoreland, secured lots of things like fireworks, drugs, etc., 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 and basically turned them away. So Kings Hill were not blighted. I know there was a few traffic issues at Kings Hill on Halloween, much to the annoyance of many of the residents, but I'm sure they would have had that rather than the massive cars and residents having their properties egged. Snodland wasn't such an issue as well as last year. There were 12 officers in Snodland, yet there were kids in hoodies and balaclavas. There were some fireworks thrown at the police, but we did have our ASB officers mainly focusing in Snodland this year. Sadly, we've got to do a bit of work with a local supermarket who was selling packs of eggs to youngsters who had their hoodies on, and I'm sure they weren't on the Great British Bake Off trail. They were probably going to do some eggings. So we're going to do that. But overall, there was no major incidents of violence, which is hugely successful compared to last year. And it's brilliant to be able to report. And these stats are from Kent Police. I only found them out yesterday. Only